Culture Gaps. Culture Gaps. Culture Gaps. Culture Gaps. Culture Gaps.
Welcome back to Culture Gaps, everyone. It's the podcast where we talk about famous movies that one or both of us has not seen. I'm your host and your boy, Mike, and I'm here with
Gregg.
Hi, Gregg.
The other host.
The other host, not your boy.
Not anyone's boy.
Nobody's boy.
Yeah. Please don't think that I'm your boy. I'm not your boy.
Hands off. And we're here to talk about a movie that is a movie I love, that I think is a movie. This movie plays on TV a lot, and it's a movie I think it does. And I think it's a movie that is possibly one of the most rewatchable movies just for enjoyment reasons in my book.
Wow.
Like, I'll watch this movie anytime it's on. And
Crazy.
People may think it's crazy. It's just so well-rounded and fun to watch. And that movie is the 2004 movie Troy. And I feel bad saying this because no one's going to care.
Yeah, I guess my general impression of this movie is just that it's a pretty standard, like, sword and sandal adventure kind of thing. Not really different from anything else in the genre, so people forgot about it pretty quick.
Yeah, I really don't think that. I think it's solid.
Yeah, you talk about this movie a lot.
I do.
This is like one of your absolute favorite movies of all time. So
I think I
guess,
put it in my top 10 just because of its replay value in my mind.
I'm interested to see, I guess, why you in particular are so passionate about it. But I don't think there's anyone else in the world who loves this movie as much as you do.
That's possible. Well, I did bond, and this is another parallel, is my wife also loves this movie and thinks the same thing about it. We both love this movie. But we apparently also have both not seen the same movies and like the same things. And that's why we're in love.
That's why.
That is exactly why we're in love.
Pop culture.
She's laughing in the other room. And swooning over me. Yeah. So, Gregg, what are your expectations? Well, you just told me what your expectations are in general for the movie, but you generally like to talk about what happens in it, no?
Yeah, I mean, this is also like based on like famous Greek legends, so I can't imagine it's going to be particularly surprising.
Nah, right? Yeah. So I'm not going to make you rename the entire Greek legend.
yeah. There's a lot that happens, but it's just like, it's a war basically, and there's people lose loved ones and all that. I don't know. I'm sure it's fine, but I don't know. I guess it's just hard for me to get excited about like a myth that I have heard a bunch of times. It's like, oh, okay,
yeah,
so it's another version of that.
That's true.
Maybe I'm assuming it'll be well done, so maybe it's like a particularly good version of it. But
I think that's my point, really. I mean, I kind of like that stuff in general, like war and Greek mythology and whatnot. And this, I think, is the best version of that. It's got everything in my mind, from good fighting. Yeah. Great bad guys. I think you know who they are. Kind of. It's kind of a gray area. Who the
really? Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is like these
the
legends.
Bad guy.
Yeah. It's like it's not super clear.
The legend is that Paris stole not Agamemnon's brother. I forget his name all of a sudden. His wife, and took her back to Troy, and that starts a war. Yeah. So Agamemnon and his brother come over to Troy and fight them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like, that just doesn't sound
You don't
interesting.
care.
But yeah,
gotta watch
I
it,
don't
though.
know. I will say, so here's the one thing I have seen from this movie: the fight between Brad Pitt and Eric Bana.
You have seen that? That's
Yeah.
like later on in the movie.
Yeah, where Brad Pitt have like a
Maybe not.
He has a spear or whatever, or maybe they both have spears.
Man,
I don't
that's
know.
such a good scene. Okay.
I was gonna, but that's what I'm saying is that was actually impressive with the fight choreography, and especially like spear fighting is like extremely difficult to
Yeah.
make look good.
There's a lot of that. I can promise you that. That it does really well.
Which might be enough to get me invested. But as I've said before, sometimes action scenes will just make me check out as well.
That's possible.
Especially when you know what the
it's
outcome
crazy.
is going to be.
Yeah, that's true. What's funny is I feel the same way a lot of times if there's just gratuitous action or just
Right.
like I just check out and I fall asleep. Like any Marvel movie, they start fighting and I'm done. But I feel like even rewatching this movie probably for like the 25th time or something, that I'm still going to be checked in on the action of the movie.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the fight choreography as well.
Yeah.
Like, I will say, actually, an example of a Marvel movie where I think the fights are really interesting is Shang-Chi, if you saw that one.
Oh, I did.
There's some really interesting stuff, like that
There
opening
is.
like bus fight, I think is really compelling. But I think a lot of that, and you know, like Everything Everywhere All at Once, you and I both loved, and there's a lot
True.
of fights in that. And John Wick is another example of something.
Yeah, there's
that
martial arts in a lot of these movies you're naming. That's the problem.
That's exactly what I was getting at.
yeah.
Is I think it has to do with how creative the fight choreography is. And I think Hong Kong filmmaking got there a lot faster than Hollywood.
Yeah.
But as you know, I think we were talking about this recently. It was the last episode with Point Break. You were saying at some point action movies just got better.
Right.
And
They did.
I think a lot of that is that Hollywood started just, you know, taking cues from Hong Kong kung fu movies. Like it's kind of started with like The Matrix, and Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon came out right around the same time and got really popular. And I think, you know, like over the course of the 2000s, and especially within the last 5 to 10 years, martial arts have become a much larger part of the general
Yeah.
visual language of fight choreography in Hollywood.
Yeah. That's true. There's none of that, obviously.
Yeah, there's no like wire fu in this movie.
Right. There's not. But you are working with, you know, Greek mythology legends, you know what I mean? So there is some interesting characters that are superhuman, essentially, in it. Achilles and Ajax and whatnot. What the fuck was I about to say?
I don't
Go to talk
know.
again. Go to talk again.
Go to talk again. Yeah, as soon as I start talking, that's when you'll be like, "Oh, shut up."
Oh yeah, shut up.
Well, the reason why I didn't watch this movie.
Wait. Why didn't you watch this movie?
I didn't watch this movie because it sounded, well, I guess when it came out, I would have been a little too young to watch it. 2004, I was 13. So I probably would have needed some extra permission from my parents to watch it. But I will say, I remember
How old?
13, 2004.
Are you serious? Oh my god.
Yeah, you were a couple years older.
Well, the thing was, I worked in the movie theater in 2004. It was my first year there. So
Yeah,
I'm
because you were
curious.
like 16.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're 3 years older than me.
Wow. And you know how to work a TV?
I do. Because I didn't have any kids, so.
Oh, yeah. They kill your brain. They're like drugs.
Yeah. I will say, I
You
remember
have had a lot of those.
Yeah, I do. I had lots of drugs.
Your eyes are so puffy right now. Just for everyone listening, yeah. You're either extremely tired or extremely high. And at this point, it could be either. It probably wore off, and now you're just tired as fuck.
I'm definitely not extremely high anymore. We've been recording for like an hour and a half.
You forgot.
Yeah, because you derailed me in the middle of a sentence.
I railed? What?
Yeah, you railed me.
In the middle of a sentence?
No, so I was a little too young to watch this movie when it came out, but I do remember my sister having it on DVD and watching it a lot.
Yeah, and probably pausing it.
That's exactly what I was going to say, is I'm pretty sure her interest in this movie was entirely just like all the like sexy men in
specifically Brad Pitt.
Very little clothing.
Specifically Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Specifically him. Is this the one that has Orlando Bloom in it as well?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that was her other big crush at the time.
Really? Wow. And Eric Bana. Everyone had a crush on Eric Bana.
I don't think she cared about him.
No,
but this was pretty soon after Lord of the Rings. Like Return of the King came out in 2003, right. And so she was still very much in like she had like posters of Legolas on her walls and stuff.
Oh, also, wait, no, I'm not gonna spoil things for you. Do you know who else is in this movie?
Brendan Gleeson, Brian Cox.
Yeah, I have spoiled that for you.
Yeah, you told me those.
That's
names.
Good though. Yeah,
I love both of them.
Yeah.
But I don't know anyone beyond them, Brad Pitt, Orlando Bloom, and Eric Bana.
Okay. Interesting. There'll be some people that you're like, oh, cool.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big all-star cast. But yeah, I think I just, so the DVD was there for me to watch it if I really wanted to. I think I just didn't care about the story and the guys weren't my type. So I was just like, okay, who cares?
Yeah, they're not. Sorry. Just the bad guys.
Yeah. The bad guys are my type?
Yeah, the bad guys are your type.
Oh, okay.
The other guys sitting around pools hoping people knock their heads on the side of it.
Right. I mean, the other thing is, like, I will say, like, these types of movies, like, even if there's an actor I find attractive, as soon as they have like long hair and they're supposed to look like all dirty and like they live in the Middle Ages or something, I just stop finding them attractive altogether. It's like,
is that why I'm so into this? It's just the dirtiness.
Yeah, you love dirty boys.
That's probably it's why not boys.
You love dirty people. You love dirty boys and dirty girls.
Just I like dirt.
And dirty
really
people.
It's the dirt, Greg. It's not the people it's
true.
on.
It's not the
dirt.
people, yeah.
I'll go outside. I'll dig for hours.
Yeah, you'll just dig a little hole in the ground and go to town.
Yeah. True facts about me. It's an average hole in the ground.
Yeah. It's not too big.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll see what I think about this movie. Maybe it'll surprise me, but my guess is I'll just be a little bored by it. We'll see.
Yeah, I hope not. I hope it actually surprises you this time.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I don't think it's dated. That's one thing I think it has going for it. I don't think it's dated, but we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go watch it because I'm excited to watch it again, to be honest.
Yeah,
I really
sure
am.
You are.
I totally am.
All right, let's go watch it. We'll be right back.
Culture Gap.
Is there no one else? Is there no one else? We just watched Troy.
We did just watch Troy. I did just watch it too, like a couple hours ago.
It must have been more than a couple hours ago because that movie's pretty long.
It is long. It's almost 3 hours long, and boy, I felt every second of it.
What's funny is I've seen this movie 1,000 times.
Yeah.
I couldn't count how many times I've actually seen it. And I usually fall asleep on movies, even if it's the first time I saw it somehow, just because I'm a dad.
Right.
But this movie, I wasn't even tired. I was
Really?
in it.
Wow.
Every minute of those almost 3 hours.
Boy, oh boy. That's impressive. Yeah, this movie, I guess I do have to say it's extremely well made. You know, great cast, great performances, production value is incredible. The sets and costumes all look great. The fight choreography is really good. Like everything is really competently done. It's a well-made movie. But oh my God, it's so boring. There's just there's just no pathos to it. You know, there's no emotion behind it.
I was going to say, I thought you were going to end that with, it's not for me. Like,
Yeah,
almost
there's that
certainly.
too, but
Because watching this, I knew beforehand that this is not for you. It's a war movie.
Yeah.
And you don't seem to like, I don't want to call it history because it's mythology, but it's also history. Also, it's like mixed.
Well, but that's the weird thing is this movie cuts out the sort of mythological elements from this story, from the Iliad.
Well,
So it is mythology, but it's presented as history.
right. Yeah. But I can tell that you don't like those type of things because you already know what's going to happen. And you seem to not like that in movies because you want something new every time, not just history, not just classic story.
Right. Yeah.
Done. Yeah.
I don't want to like this is a very well done version of this type of thing. And this is also the type of movie that really doesn't get made anymore. Like these big Hollywood epics, like, you know, like Ben-Hur or Spartacus or something. It's like hearkening back to that. So I can appreciate it on that level. And as I say, the craft behind it is really good. But it's just it isn't for me. I do find these movies kind of boring. But it's also, I think part of the issue with this movie is that the characters are all unlikable, like on all sides. I didn't like any of them.
There's no way you could say that Hector is unlikable. Come on.
Hector
is not unlikable.
He's pretty boring. I mean, I guess
I will give you that.
He is maybe the most sympathetic character in the movie, yeah. But it doesn't even make sense why he sails back to Sparta in the first place. Like when he finds out his brother has taken Helen, he's like, guys, turn the ship around. We got to go back. My brother's an idiot. And then they have like the briefest conversation and like Paris doesn't convince him of anything, but Hector's just like, all right, never mind. We won't go back. And I'm like, what? How? Why would you do this? You know that people are going to die and you're doing it anyway.
Let's dive into this because I don't agree with this part, but there's a part of it that I do agree with. I don't agree with that he wasn't convinced because I think Paris convinced him that no matter what he's going to do, he's going to fight for Helen when he goes back. And Hector's whole thing is, I don't want my brother to die. And that's why he turned back around and went to Troy. And he knew his brother would kill himself doing that because he couldn't just give Helen back. It just wouldn't happen, which is what he wanted to do originally when he first said, let's go back to Sparta. But let me say this. Why the fuck did Helen go knowing that all this would happen? That's the real question.
And in Paris too. I mean, Paris is a fucking dingus. Like
oh my God. Yeah.
Even Orlando Bloom said of his character that he's a coward and an idiot. I was like, he played it that way. He did a good job at being that.
I mean, this movie makes you hate them for sure.
Yeah, it's just like, wow, you guys are so selfish. Like, you know that thousands of people will die if you do this, but you're doing it anyway.
I feel so... This is why I do sympathize with Hector. Yeah, he's kind of boring. But I sympathize with him because he has the stupidest brother, and his dad's kind of an idiot, too. Like,
that's also true.
He's just constantly trying to make sure his country doesn't burn and everyone dies, and then... His whole family's fucking it up for him constantly.
Right. Yeah.
It's sad. Plus, he's They set him out to be a family man, a good guy. Then
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
cut him off. Okay.
I just didn't. I didn't latch on to any of the characters, but also the other piece of this is that I just didn't really care about the outcome of any of these battles. And I think that is the big issue for me, where like something like Game of Thrones has a lot of these types of epic battles like this, or Lord of the Rings too is another example. And partly I like the mythological kind of stuff in those, but there's stuff on Game of Thrones like Battle of the Bastards, for instance, that has nothing really like mythological in it. It's just a medieval battle. But I was interested in that because I cared what the outcome was. Like I was invested in the stakes of the battle. Whereas with this, I was kind of like, well, Agamemnon sucks and Paris sucks. So like, I don't really care who gets Helen. I don't know. It just like didn't really matter to me what happened in these battles. That was my big issue.
Also, like, you go into this knowing exactly what's going to happen, so it's kind of hard to care about the outcome of the battle, which is kind of hard to shake either way.
I will say, I remembered a lot less about this story than I thought.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I knew that like Patroclus dies and then Achilles goes on like a revenge rampage, basically. And then the Trojan horse, obviously, I remember. But a lot of the other specifics were. I mean, this movie also deviates from the Iliad quite a bit in terms of like character deaths and stuff. Like Agamemnon and Brendan Gleeson's character, whose name I don't remember. They don't die in the Iliad.
Menelaus.
Yeah. They don't die in the Iliad, but they do in this movie.
Yep.
Which was actually one thing I kind of liked was Briseis being somewhat self-sufficient. Like not obviously like when there's a bunch of soldiers overpowering her, but like she fights back and she is the one who kills Agamemnon at the end of the movie.
Yeah, I think she's great. She's constantly putting Achilles in his place too, which is nice.
Yeah.
When he has her prisoner. She's like, well,
my only issue...
guess could leave.
Right. My only issue with her in this movie is just like her weird like Stockholm syndrome with Achilles.
Yeah.
Like she goes to cut his throat and then they fuck instead. Like, okay. She should have just killed him.
Yeah, normally I'd have a problem with this in most movies, is just like they fall in love out of nowhere when it shouldn't be happening. But in this movie, she's fallen in love with Achilles, and I gotta say, Brad Pitt is beautiful. In this.
Yeah, so, you've talked about how much you love him in this movie. So
I can't fault it.
Yeah, you're like, well, he could be a serial killer, and you'd still want to fuck him.
I mean, he is, yeah. But are soldiers serial killers? We shouldn't get into that.
No. I was
the
actually
anti-military podcast.
Yeah, after our Top Gun episode.
Oh God.
I was watching an interview with Brian Cox where he was talking about this movie and this role, and he said that, he's like, I'm a straight guy, but seeing Brad Pitt in that costume was like, he's gorgeous.
That's what I'm saying.
Although I will say, for me, that was lost on me. Because,
for sure.
I mean, partly because these are like, just not really my type of men, but also like, I was reading all the men had to like shave and wax their chests for this movie, and I'm like, I would have found this way more intriguing if they all had hairy chests.
I mean, there were hairy dudes in this.
There was one hairy dude, Ajax, I think.
Yeah, Ajax, who's freaking awesome. Funny thing about Ajax, you know the cleaning solution Ajax?
Yeah,
like the laundry detergent. Did you realize it was named after Ajax because he's the strongest fighter in all of Greece? So
it fights
Greece.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh boy,
that's insane.
Is that insane?
That's some good marketing right there.
There was also my boy BOAGRIUS.
Oh my God, I love that fucking scene with
that
BOAGRIUS.
Made me laugh so hard when the guy just goes BOAGRIUS. Just such a funny name too. I love that.
That scene set the tone for this movie for me a long time ago, and it's one of the most memorable scenes to me. I mean, it's like the opening, but
Yeah.
it's also just hilarious, and I guess if you like the fighting part of it, it's awesome.
I guess, yeah.
Which is a quick kill
pretty
on
quick,
this
yeah.
giant dude, which I really liked in it. But that dude is fucking massive.
Yeah, he was big.
Was he hairy though?
I don't know. I think he had armor over his chest.
Did he? I thought he was shirtless. I don't even know now. He looked real hairless to me, but
Probably was. But yeah, I mean, I understand now why my sister was so into this movie.
it's like, this is me in an Interview with a Vampire.
Yeah, it's just like
We find out what our sisters are into.
Now I get it. It's just like these like loving shots of like incredibly fit men, mostly naked or sometimes like entirely naked from behind.
Oh yeah.
I wish someone like hung dong in this movie though. That would have put it over the edge.
Yeah, there wasn't much for nudity.
No, they kind of cut around most of it.
So-
Apparently, in the director's cut, there's a lot more nudity.
Hold on. Let me download
The director's cut is over 3 hours long.
Oh, okay. So when I looked up the movie, it said it was 3 hours and 2 minutes long or something like that.
Oh.
I wonder if that's a director's cut.
Might have been. Yeah, the version I watched was 2 hours and 42 minutes.
Same. We watched the same movie this time.
Great. Glad we finally matched up.
So I've seen this movie so many times, and the one thing I realized about, you know how I watch the producers and I sat down and I'm like, oh, this is what it's like watching it through, not just having it on the background. That was kind of like that for this too. Like I paid more attention to certain things I never paid attention to before. And this time watching it, I got a real like early 2000s cinematography vibe from it, where like the shots were kind of
the early 2000s.
Right. And it was, but you could tell like it dated in that sense to me, where it just, there was these weird crane shots moving into people real close before they gave a line, and then it kind of like went into overclocking a little bit. It was weird. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I will say you can tell this movie is shot on film, though, and that's not digital, and it just looks so good because of it. Like, there's so much character and richness to the colors and stuff. It's a very good-looking movie, for sure.
Yeah.
One thing I thought was funny was there's a scene where Hector is trying to give a speech to rally his men before a battle. And he says, like, honor the gods, love your woman, and defend your country. I was just like, I feel like that's what you would see on the back of a pickup truck or something.
I know. That's what I was thinking when I saw that. Oh, God.
Just like a big old American flag and an eagle. Some big fuck off pickup truck it's like lifted.
With balls on the joint.
Yeah, exactly.
In a fuck Joe Biden sticker.
Yeah, let's go Brandon sticker.
Let's go Brandon, yeah. So this is something that happened. So I know you didn't like Hector very much, but I'll tell you someone who did, besides me, is my wife. Amelia loves Hector in this movie.
Interesting.
So much that she gets incredibly pissed off when he dies. She's seen it 1,000 times as well. So pissed off that she starts yelling at the screen.
Wow.
At one point, she goes, if I was there, I would have my men rain bows down on people, which I thought was funny because she said rainbows. But she meant arrows.
Yeah, they're just going to throw their bows over the castle walls.
Yeah, just throw their bows. Just rainbows in general is funny.
Yeah.
But in particular, she was extra pissed at Helen in this movie because it was her and Paris's fault. But at one point, Helen is always around Hector's wife, and she's like holding Hector's baby, and she's like, "Why are you letting that woman hold the baby? This is her fault." And she just kept like yelling at her, like, "Fuck you, Helen."
Wow. I can't
I'm so mad at
imagine
her.
being that invested in this movie, to be honest.
Oh, I mean, that Hector's death is kind of impactful, I guess. Maybe not for you.
Yeah,
For me,
I mean,
and
I guess that's
her
the
it
issue.
was.
It's just like, okay, well.
What about, okay, so you say there's not much an emotion in this.
Yeah.
But I think the best scene in the movie actually is the scene with the most emotion. Surprise. Is when Peter O'Toole, King Priam, goes to see Achilles in his tent at night and begs for his son's mutilated body back so he can bury him.
Yeah.
I thought that one had some good emotion in it, but I guess that's just Peter O'Toole bringing it to the stage.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that scene was fine, I guess. I don't know. It just it was hard for me to care again.
Yeah, that's pretty far into the movie. You probably didn't care as much at that point.
No. I don't know. I just it was just too hard for me to like latch onto the characters, so even when they did have an emotional moment, it just was like, well, who cares? They're probably all going to be dead soon. And then those two characters are dead within like 20 minutes of that scene.
That's true. Not many people live. It's crazy that Paris and Helen get to live.
I know. Not really fair. They're just super
not.
selfish, and
The
a
whole
lot of
city
people
burns.
die for them. Yep. Brian Cox is great in this movie.
Right?
He's really good.
Always is.
As always, yeah. But he's real fun. He's like having a blast in this sort of villain role.
Oh, absolutely. I love him and Achilles going back and forth, him getting pissed at him
Yeah.
just for not like serving him like everyone
Right.
else.
Yeah, being insubordinate.
What about Brendan Gleeson? Could you still tell that he was not of that area?
What?
You can kind of tell from his accent that he's not
Oh, yeah.
from Sparta.
All the accents in this movie are horrible. Like
Yeah, it's a little.
everyone's kind of doing like half a British accent, like half an English accent. I don't know. The whole thing is weird. Yeah, Brad Pitt was good too. I thought he was good in it.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, not all the
That's who
time.
you'd have the most problems with was him.
Actually,
honest.
I had the most problems with Eric Bana. I didn't like his performance, to be honest. Which maybe is part of why I didn't like Hector. I don't know.
That's fair. I thought this was Eric Bana's best performance.
Wow.
Not saying he's the best of this movie. I'm just saying
Yeah. Of his movies, this is his.
of his. I mean, what else has he got? Come on.
I feel like he was good in Munich, but I haven't seen that since it came out.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, but no one's gonna rewatch that movie. So you talked about no likable characters. What about Odysseus, Sean Bean?
Oh, I guess he was all right. Yeah, Sean Bean is always charismatic.
Oh
But
yeah, and
there's not enough of him.
Sean Bean didn't die.
It's true. He survived.
He's alive at the end of this movie.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah. When he showed up, I was like, of course he's in this movie.
There's a lot of people from Game of Thrones in this movie. Well,
Yeah.
maybe
James
four.
Cosmo is in it.
Yeah, he's
That
always
other guy whose name I can't remember.
good.
Plays one of the maesters in Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah, I don't know him, but the king at the beginning of the movie, this Thessalian.
Thessalonian.
I don't know if that's right.
It is.
His leader is played by Julian Glover, who is Grand Maester Pycelle in Game of Thrones, who is also. I have to look at my notes for this. He's General Veers in Empire Strikes Back, and Walter Donovan, the main bad guy in Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones. Yeah, that's who I was thinking of when I said there was another guy.
Yeah, I didn't recognize him at all.
I did, but
Surprised me.
weirdly, I was like, why does he look like Jared Harris? But it's like Jared Harris is way too young to be in this movie. I enjoyed this one line from Achilles where he shouts as an insult, "You sack of wine!"
That was when
That's a great insult.
that was to Agamemnon, right? On the
Yeah.
ship when he took what's her face?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, that sounds right. He
It's
was
a bit
just
of
mad at.
overreaction for their connection at that point in time, but
Yep.
sack of wine is an insult, all right. So we didn't really talk about it. How does this movie compare to your expectations?
It's pretty much exactly what I expected.
Really? Because
Actually, that's not true. It's better made than I was expecting.
that's what I was gonna say. Is because going into this, I knew you wouldn't like because it's a war movie, in a lot of fighting. But
Yeah, which again is not necessarily a deal breaker. There just has to be other stuff to latch on to.
yeah, but yeah, when you came in, you were saying lots of stuff about the craft of this movie. That's interesting.
Yeah, because
I assume you thought it was going to be much worse.
I don't know about much worse, but I did think it would be a little cheesier, like campier than it is. It's not really campy. It kind of pulls off everything
To me, it
without
has-
being tongue in cheek or just being like cheesy or bad.
It almost has a play vibe at times, like the way that the scenes are broken up and the transitions between them. It just feels like a real long ass play to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I got that vibe, but it was real long. I got that part of it.
Oh God.
That was part of it too, is like this movie is like, as you say, it's a lot of battles, but then the scenes that aren't battles are kind of just people like quietly talking in a room. And it's just like, oh my God. It's like they're not revealing anything deep about themselves or like, I don't know. There's no real like character development happening in those scenes. They're just kind of conversations about like what's going to happen next. I don't know. I just got so bored in those scenes.
Yeah, there's almost none of that other than around Achilles, who arguably didn't need it as a character.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff with like Paris talking to his family and stuff. It's just boring. But I will actually say I think the action in this movie is, some of the better parts of it, because the fight choreography is really well done.
Oh yeah.
There's some very good fights in this.
What's your favorite one?
The Achilles Hector one.
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't like the
really good.
Menelaus Paris one?
No. That was so silly. And that's another example of where I'm just like, yeah, this actor's not that likable either, because his brother just like grovels to him and then he's just like, okay, I'll just like sucker stab this guy. like, okay, well, my brother is a coward and can't finish this fight, so I'll just like murder this guy and break the rules of the duel to save my brother. It's just like, okay, cool.
I mean, he's constantly doing that in this movie.
But that's what I mean. It's just like I still don't.
Yeah.
But that's what I just.
Are you not going to do that though?
No.
Like, you're not going to just let your brother die.
He should have. His
Yeah,
brother
he should've.
sucks.
I agree, but I mean,
And it's the rules of the duel.
that doesn't matter. If your family's there begging at your feet and someone's about to kill them, you don't just sit there.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
do.
from an audience perspective, yeah, let that motherfucker die. But no, from Hector's perspective, save your brother. They were going to fight either way, the war. So I think everyone
That's
knew
true.
that.
Yeah.
Except Paris, who knew almost nothing.
Yeah. Paris is a
He knew
fool.
nothing of dying or love.
And then this movie just ends.
Yeah.
Troy is on fire at the end.
The end. That's how it ends.
Like, it's just like the characters all like converge inside Troy, then they all die, and it's like pan across the flames, the roll credits.
Where are you going to go from there?
Well, apparently the director's cut does have an epilogue.
Really?
Yeah.
I got to watch this director's cut. I want to know what happens.
Yep. Another Game of Thrones connection with this movie. It was written by David Benioff.
Oh, it was.
of Game of Thrones notoriety. One of the two co-writers of that show.
Yeah.
I think he's a good writer. People think he's a hack now because the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones were not good. But like the first 6 seasons of that show were very well written. So I think he's a good writer.
Absolutely. And he didn't write this alone. This is co-writer credits with Homer.
Yeah, with Homer. I did also read that there was a lot of the studio interference and producers giving notes and the director stepping in and stuff. So they changed a lot of stuff just because there were a lot of hands in the pot.
Speaking of which, we actually haven't talked about it at all yet. Is the director of this movie.
Oh, yeah. Wolfgang Peterson.
Wolfgang Peterson, the now late Wolfgang Peterson. Since our last episode.
No, and since the beginning of this episode, yeah.
Yeah, since the beginning of this episode, Wolfgang Peterson has passed away.
Yeah, director of Das Boot and The Neverending Story, among others. I loved the
Air Force
Neverending
One,
Story
which I've never seen.
Yeah, I've never seen that either.
Maybe that's one we got to watch soon.
Yeah. But yeah, I think he did all right on this. I did read they offered it to a lot of other directors who turned it down when they read the script.
Yeah, Chris Nolan was one of them.
Yep.
That would have been a dark
Terry Gilliam
movie.
was one of them. Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of people, I think, didn't really want to make this movie. I also read Peter O'Toole walked out of the movie 15 minutes in because he hated it so much. Yeah, what are you going to do? And Brad Pitt also said the only reason he did this movie was because he dropped out of another movie for the studio and they needed to put him in something, so they told him it was going to be this one, and he says he's not a huge fan of this movie. Wow. And the movie he dropped out of, interestingly, is The Fountain.
Oh, yeah, right. He was supposed to be. That's crazy. Imagine The Fountain if it was Brad Pitt instead of Hugh Jackman.
I know. But I don't know. It's interesting.
The Fountain's like Amelia's favorite movie. She walked in as I was saying that.
Yeah.
She just turned around like...
It's one of my favorites, too. I really love that movie.
Yeah. It's something.
Yeah, it's interesting. But, I mean, it's way more unique than this movie, though. I'll say that.
Yeah, well, you're not going to get unique for this type of movie.
That's true.
Well, do we do game before rating or rating before game?
Rating first.
Okay, because there was a segue.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, so what would you rate this movie?
Oh, we're going to do ratings?
Isn't that why you were just asking?
Oh, I just needed to know the order of things.
All right.
Hey, Gregg. Hey, Gregg.
Yeah. Hey, Mike.
What do you think about rating this movie? Should we do it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Or not? All right, who goes first? Me, because I've seen it before.
Yeah. So, what would you give this movie? How would you rate it?
Let's check my notes. Yeah, I still think that this movie is super rewatchable for me, personally. I think it's really well done, as you illustrated so well. Love the action, love the cast. Some parts of it dated a little weirdly, and there is some flaws, like you said. I think I give it 8 out of 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insanity.
No, I love this movie.
Wow. Interesting. As I said, I found this movie really boring. It's hard for me to know how much of that is just like me and my personal experience and preferences, and how much of it is like a failure on the movie's part to like deliver the sort of like, depth of character and, like emotional stakes that I was looking for. So it's hard for me to know exactly how much is just like me versus the movie. But overall, I would say like if I were to remove how I feel about this type of movie, I would say it's probably like a 7 out of 10 movie. But
I said it's okay, go ahead.
Because I'm trying to give credit to the fact that this is a well-made movie. And I can't overlook the fact that like it's well directed, well acted, well shot. Like the sets and costumes are amazing. The production value is insane in this movie. So I can't not acknowledge that. So that's why I'm giving it an initial rating of 7 out of 10 if you like this kind of movie. Right. However, for me, as someone who does not like this kind of movie and found it incredibly boring, I give it a 3.
Wow. So what is insane about me giving it an 8 then when I do like this movie?
It just seems crazy I don't know.
Wow.
It's
real close to yours.
I guess because I feel like you and I have watched much better movies that you rated much lower. That's why it's crazy.
Yeah. Okay, maybe I didn't acknowledge it. Well, I kind of did. I just didn't specifically call it out. Is that, again, nostalgia plays a huge role in these movies. So the ones we've seen and like already are going to be rated higher, to be honest. So,
yeah, I mean, unless it's the producers.
Unless it's the producers. It gets... But no, rewatching this movie, I still felt the same way about it. So...
Wow.
I stand by it. And now that you said it is well made, I feel less guilty about that pleasure. So
yeah, I don't think you should feel guilty about it.
Yeah. So, what do you think about playing a game?
That sounds good. Is it a new game this time?
What game do you want to
play? Foursquare.
Well, we're not going to play Foursquare, but we are going to play a little game called
Try by Trivia?
Pitch Perfect.
Oh, no. We're doing Pitch Perfect again.
We're doing it again. Yes, we are. Here's the reason, because I couldn't find the best trivia for this, and you look up all the good trivia, so it's kind of hard. But we're not doing Troy 2. That's not how
yeah, I was going to say that's just the Aeneid, right?
Yeah. Instead, I want you to pitch me a new take on this classic story that would be made in current times. Now, modern take on it. I guess not. It doesn't have to be a modern.
It's set
movie.
In current times.
No. I didn't make that clear. It would just be it would come out now. Yeah.
Okay. So if I made it now in 2022.
Yeah, you made it now. It's a new, refreshing take on this story you've heard 1,000 times. Mm-hmm. What would you like to see? Who do you want to direct it? Who do you want to star in it? Let's hear it.
Okay, first of all, it takes place in space. And the armies are, space armies of aliens.
What?
Yeah.
So this isn't literal. It's not about this story.
I thought you said I could adapt this how I wanted, Mike.
Okay, no, you do what you want to do.
Do you want me to just... otherwise, am I just remaking this movie? It just actually takes place in ancient Greece?
I'm not imposing any rules on you right now. I'm just clarifying.
I think it's got to be in outer space with warring alien factions, for sure.
What are the aliens like?
They're just like people, but like blue. I don't know. That's the art designer's problem.
You want nothing to do with art design in this movie?
No.
So you just want it about aliens, space aliens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who's directing this piece then?
Who's going to direct it? How about Darren Aronofsky? Speaking of The Fountain, space is going to be shot like he shot it in The Fountain. With all this like macro photography of like chemical reactions and stuff.
Wow. This is going to be a trippy ass version of this movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so then Paris and Helen are like children in this. They're they're like 13. Because that's the only way I think you can really justify how selfish and short-sighted they are. Is with them being like actual children.
I thought you were going somewhere else with this, but I'm glad that's the path you took.
What?
No, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like, it's just like a couple of sort of stupid hormonal kids deciding to run away together that starts everything. It's not like in Troy, they like have a conversation about how bad of an idea it is and how many people will get hurt if they do it. And they're like, cool, let's do it. But I think it makes a lot more sense if they don't even grasp the potential consequences of their action, which is only really possible if they're so young that they just like are short-sighted and can't see what happens.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. And then Achilles is played by Sam Rockwell.
Sam Rockwell.
Yep.
What? What does he do?
What does he do? He does Achilles thing. He just kills people. But him, him and Patroclus are actually lovers in this one because that makes way more sense than it just being his cousin. Just like, why does he care this much about his aunt's kid?
Wow. I mean, that was what it was supposed to be. So they were supposed to be lovers.
Not in this movie.
Not just because. Not specifically this movie. I mean, in the story. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It depends on the version of the story, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're lovers. I don't know. This stuff's so boring. It just all plays out the same way. So then, whatever. All the battles happen. There's a Trojan horse, but it's in space.
Make it better, Gregg.
It's a Trojan alien.
I gotta say, this isn't your best pitch.
It's hard to. How about you take a turn? You pitch me a new fresh take on this story of the Iliad.
All right, hear me out. 2 syllables. Nope, there's more than 2 syllables. Claymation.
That's the whole pitch.
That's the pitch.
Okay, so if I had just stopped at it's in space, you would have accepted that.
Yes, I would. But the fact that you went so far,
since I kept going, it is. Yeah, I'm losing points for continuing.
Yeah, there's no points. This is a game where points don't matter. You went into detail about how to make it make sense with the kids. I was on board with that, and then it quickly because spiraled from there.
I realized that that the story is so boring and complicated. I didn't want to have to retell it all.
So you were in the middle of your pitch meeting. You were halfway through it, and then you're like, "Wait, this idea sucks, guys."
Yes, exactly. Because the issue is like, I mean, at least with with the Goonies too, I was making up the story, but with this, it's like it's the same story, and I'm just changing the specifics.
Yeah. You changed a lot of specifics.
Yeah,
I respect that you halfway through your meeting for this pitch, you just gave up.
How about this? Instead of Darren Aronofsky, it's just James Gunn, and it's a Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
I'm out.
And that makes a lot more sense with Sam Rockwell too.
What? Because he should have played Rocket.
Because it's a quippy version of Achilles. It's quipping all the time.
Quipping all the time.
Yeah.
He's quipping all the time. How about that bit when he's talking to Hector? Hector says, "You speak of war as if it's a game, but how many wives wait at Troy's gates for husbands they'll never see again?"
Oh, yeah.
And then Achilles says, "Perhaps your brother can comfort them. I hear he's good at charming other men's wives."
Yeah, that was a good line. And also at the beginning when that boy comes to get him and he just says, like, no one will remember your name or something.
Yeah, that was a little mean.
Yeah, very mean.
Yeah, but true.
Because Achilles is a dick. I do think I would find this movie a lot more interesting if it took place in space.
Well, yeah. Most movies are better in space.
Space Wars.
Yeah.
Star Wars.
Space Troy. Or Tron.
Actually, I feel like if you set this movie in space, it really wouldn't be that different from Star Wars.
That's probably true. Patroclus is Tron.
What?
His cousin is Tron, the actor. That's interesting.
Oh, the actor isn't. I've never seen Tron.
Yeah. You haven't.
It's on the list.
We're not going to add that to the list because it really?
It is on the
I
list.
fell asleep during that movie. You know how driving at night, that feeling how you get sleepy because you just see all the lights passing you? That's what that movie is. Yeah, it's real sleepy. So, you think we should do another episode?
Yeah, I'm down.
What was that, episode 23 or something? That's.
I think this is 22.
This is 22.
Yeah.
Next episode, 23.
23.
I guess we're going to keep going. We're going to keep doing culture gaps for everyone.
23 and me.
But what movie should we both see for the first time in our lives together? Or separately and then talk about it together? Which is going to happen.
Yeah. I had a thought because of a movie that I referenced earlier in the episode. Had a Lego sequel come out recently.
Never-ending Story.
Yes, they rebooted Never-ending Story. No, a movie that you and I both hated.
Oh, Top Gun.
Yep. Got a sequel this year that people fucking love.
People loved the original, Greg.
Yeah, but I've heard a lot of people say that this one is much better than the original.
So you want to watch it together?
I'm down to watch it. I want to find out if this movie is actually good or if people are just buying into the Navy propaganda again.
100%. And I bet you real US dollars, that it's nothing but nostalgia. It's nothing but scenes from the original one redone.
I bet it's a lot of that.
Oh, yeah.
But I wonder if there's some new stuff in there.
Yeah, maybe.
I think there's more characters in it. So there's that at least.
Yeah.
Not just Maverick the whole time.
Yeah, they'll 2022 it up. That's for sure.
Yeah. Hopefully no one corners any women in bathrooms in this one.
No. Yep.
All right. We'll talk about that more on the next episode. But until then.
Until then, this podcast is just young men dying and old men talking. Ignore the politics.
That actually is a great way to sum up this movie. Young men dying and old men talking. Oof. Yeah, that's this movie.
No, that's war. Then this movie.
Yeah.
And this podcast.
BOAGRIUS!
That's a better quote.
Culture Gap.
I love BOAGRIUS. MVP of this whole movie. This whole movie.